President Bush's political life was part of a robust family legacy. His father, Prescott Bush, was a U.S. Senator from Connecticut. Mr. Bush and his son, President George H.W. Bush, are only the second, I should say, father-son duo to occupy the Oval Office. The other, of course, is John Adams and John Quincy Adams. Jan Crawford is in Houston with the past and future of the Bush political dynasty. Jan, good morning.
Well, good morning. So the legacy of George H.W. Bush is going to be debated by historians for years to come. But when you start to look at the professional and the personal, a common theme emerges, and that's a commitment to service.
The country was together, and everyone wanted to do one's duty. I just had that driving feeling that I ought to go into the service.
In both his military career and in political life, George Herbert Walker Bush was driven by a sense of duty.
He's often said that any definition of a successful life must include service to others. And that just defines most of his life.
Tim McBride served as Mr. Bush's personal aide. Are you carrying the president's bags here?
Yeah, that was my job.
And saw the president as a father figure. McBride was with Bush on Inauguration Day in 1989. Minutes before he was to be sworn in as president, Mr. Bush made a curious observation.
President-elect Bush notices that Mrs. Reagan is bundling up very snugly President Reagan.
He's going to wear a coat.
He's going to wear a coat. She's wrapping a scarf around him. He is clearly ready for much colder conditions.
So the president-elect demanded his own coat.
And I said, well, sir, your coat's down in the car. We won't get it in time. It's not possible. He said, well, I need it. I can't go out looking more robust than President Reagan.
But what I have proposed...
Despite his empathy, Mr. Bush lost his re-election bid in 1992.
I, George Walker Bush, do solemnly swear.
By 2001, another Bush, George W., was back in the Oval Office.
As I recall, the conversation went something like this. Welcome, Mr. President. It's good to see you, Mr. President. And that's all we said.
They'll remember him for being a good, honest president who got a lot of things done. But I think the thing I take pride in is integrity.
Proud as he was, according to McBride, Mr. Bush did not set out to build a political dynasty.
None of that motivated him, or I believe motivates any of his family.
A sentiment Jeb Bush, the former Florida governor, echoed when he ran for president in 2016.
The idea of being a Bush, I know it's complicated for people looking at it on the outside. I can distinguish between being proud to be a member of this extraordinary family and also recognizing I got to go make this case myself.
Amid declarations that he was doomed by his last name, Jeb Bush dropped out of the GOP primary.
I once heard someone just say that the Times choose the president.
You think his last name was Smith, he would have had a better chance?
I think running as a Bush would have been tough in 2016 for any candidate. But beyond that, there were other factors that caused the voters to look somewhere else, I think.
Voters may one day look toward yet another Bush, Jeb's son, George Prescott.
I, George Prescott Bush.
Currently, the Texas Land Commissioner, George P. Bush, seemed destined to join the family business.
I pledge allegiance to the flag.
At 12 years old, he led the Pledge of Allegiance at the Republican National Convention that nominated his grandfather. Now the fourth generation of his family to enter politics, George P. did so with his uncle's blessing.
He's always thought that I'd be good at it. But in terms of doing it for the right reasons, that's what the consensus was, whether it was him or my grandfather or my dad, is you've got to do this with a servant's heart.
With the unwavering heart of a servant, Mr. Bush leaves behind a legacy that transcends politics.
You can't believe what our grandchildren do. They all do something for others. They do public service. They do something for others.
Now, George P. Bush is one of the most popular politicians in Texas, where here the Bush name still resonates. And even if he doesn't decide to run for president, there are 16 grandchildren and 8 great-grandchildren who could someday enter public office. Norah?
Wow, we can count them all. Jan, thank you so much.